Welcome to the Leadership Lounge, your go-to podcast for insightful conversations, expert advice, and strategies to elevate your leadership. I'm your host, Karie Millspaw, best-selling author, award-winning motivational speaker, and executive leadership coach. In my profession, I've seen firsthand the daily stresses executives face and how, together, we've overcome these challenges with expert guidance. Whether you're a seasoned leader, aspiring executive, or entrepreneur, this show is for those ready to lead with impact and purpose. This isn't just about theory, it's about practical, real-life application. Tune in for inspiring stories, actionable advice, and leadership lessons you can implement right away to drive success in your career and organization. Let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Leadership Lounge. And today in my hot seat, I have Terry Sidford, who is a motivational TEDx and keynote speaker, author, television host, and life coach who's been transforming lives since 1998. Okay, let's just give her pause for that. And with a passion for helping people unlock their potential, she empowers others to step into their courage and create the life they desire. Terry is the author of 100 Hearts, a compelling collection of women's resilience stories, which is amazing. You've got to go check that out. She's also recently published Truth, Courage, Love, which shares her personal journey of overcoming adversity. She's a sought-after speaker at personal growth and corporate events where she delivers a powerful keynote. We're going to touch base on this in this interview. How to activate your inner superhero. Yes, we all have one deep inside of us. And how to unlock professional success by mastering the art of storytelling, resilience, and overcoming fear. She's originally from Southern California, but now she is actively enjoying her life in Park City, Utah with her husband and 2 sons. And I just have to pause and say she has now become a world traveler, and we will talk about that too in today's episode. So please settle in and join us and enjoy today's interview with Terry Sidford. So Terry, welcome. So good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, good to see you. Thank you so much for having me as your guest.
It is so much
I'm
fun.
thrilled.
Terry and I worked together for quite a few years. She feels like family. She's Terry Lynn. I'm Karie Lynn. She's married to a Matthew. I hope to marry my Matthew one day. I'm trying to think. There's so many more silly things. We talk about giving ourselves permission. I have books on permission. There's just a lot of things that connect us. That's just, I think it's kind of cool to point out that alignment. I think there's an address too. I feel like you live on Willow something, and I used to live on Willow Creek. So I don't know am I right in that? Is your address got Willow in it or something? Do you want to give that away?
It does. It
Willow
has Willow
Lane.
Lane.
That's what it is.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's all. I'm not
No,
giving the
you
numbers.
don't need to share that. But I felt like there was something else that I remember seeing your address and going, I used to live on Willow Creek. That is so weird. Like I'm sure we could keep going.
That is very strange. I know. We're like sisters, and we have a connection that's deep for the first time we talked, and we're doing similar things for the same reason.
Yes, empowering others, especially women. We just have that core value deep inside of us to make a difference on the planet. So I know you didn't wake up doing this work. How did it find you? Because sometimes I think it is kind of a spiritual alignment that just finds us over time and we step into this role. Do you remember when that happened or when it just kind of felt natural for you to help others?
It did. I mean, I was in the medical field when I first started working, and that was a way of I was a nurturer that's just my
Yes.
instinct as a nurturer. So I always wanted to help people that way. But then I had kind of a life transformation doing my own work, coming from a turmoil, family upbringing, a dysfunction. And I worked really hard to kind of take care of what I needed to take care of to learn and grow from that. And I was so happy that I could do that in my own life. I felt blessed that I was able to find the gifts in my pain, in my dysfunction, and grow from it and become truly the best person I could possibly be. And because of that, and again, there's a lot more in between that that got me there that we can talk about. But when I got to that point through adversity, I was so happy that I found that place that I wanted to give back. And I really didn't know how that was going to show up. And the first way that it showed up was someone mentioned coaching I went, coaching, and this is over 20 years ago now. And coaching, like, what,
Right.
sports? What? What's that? And they said, no, it's life coaching. And okay, I'll check it out. Of course, I went through the training, and it was just life affirming for
Mm.
me. It was just so what I was meant to do. And it's been a gift. As much as I've helped other people, they have instantly helped me. It's really been a gift. And that was the
That's
first start of it. And then, the
the
start of
of many,
other things
right?
probably
Like layers
from,
of an onion. It just starts to peel back. It is kind of interesting because I even
yes.
remember as a teenager I had counseling, and I thought, gosh, what a gift to have a counselor. And then I thought, am I even strong enough to do that? Because
Mm.
there's that boundary there where don't take on their problems. You just have to guide them. That coach, true mindset of leading, and guiding from the side, not literally getting in, in the seat with them. Let them learn to drive themselves, so to speak. But it's just interesting because yeah, I think back to my child. I think I was 17 when I thought, I wonder if I should do this someday.
Yeah, of course, Karie, of course. Now I know
One
that
day I'll
about you.
figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
Yes. Yes. And, and the truth is about the whole thing is that you also learn that when you've gone through a lot in your life, you're able to meet people at so many different levels if you hadn't
Right,
gone through that. So that makes being a life coach much easier. I can really kind of relate to anybody basically, and they feel really safe with that.
right.
No judgment, absolutely no judgment, just a lot of loving
Yes,
space to see the truth within themselves and the answers for themselves. And what a great gift that is, right? People have done that
right.
for us, and it's such an amazing gift
Yeah.
to give to
I've
others,
always been able
really.
to relate more to the coach that maybe they're teaching me health and wellness and they've had their own challenges, whether they had an eating disorder or
Yeah.
lost 100 pounds or something that they had to really also learn, the pattern. They've already gone through the fire. They're going to help me get through the fire too and help me overcome what I need to. There's that relatability. So sometimes when life throws me a curveball, I'm like, well, this is a story that I'm supposed to help someone else with the same curveball at some point. And it's true. It comes from a level of, oh, you've been there. You know what this feels like. You know what this looks like. I can help you. Yes, can't even suggest that more. I'm not saying go look for problems so you can help more people, but it does make a difference if you've gotten to the other side. It's that street cred that we get, I've got credibility now.
It's true, and it's a very vulnerable thing to share your
Yes,
difficulties in life. It's a vulnerability that then people can let down their own guard and say, "Oh my gosh, she's just like me," or "Wow, I didn't know anybody else had gone
right,
through that." And the more that we can be vulnerable enough to share the things that we've been through, we're more relatable, and we're all in this together. We're not really all that
right,
different, and I don't know of anyone that can get through this life without some
right,
challenges that they
right.
need to overcome.
You're not really playing life if you're avoiding all of those speed bumps. That's where you learn the most. And I know you talk about this a lot, getting outside of your comfort zone to the point where you start to learn to just live in the uncomfortable space. Am I right in saying, I don't even know if those are your actual words, but I do remember you thinking at some point you just get used to it. It's just going to be an uncomfortable day. Even just doing a podcast like this is it's a lot more uncomfortable than sitting on the couch flipping the channels, right? I mean,
Yes. Well, yeah, and that's one thing. It might sound a little crazy, but I started to step out of my comfort zone day after day after day, and I started to achieve things I never dreamed possible and be able to get through things I never dreamed possible. And then I kind of started to miss
yeah,
that feeling. I don't know how to explain that one, but it's just like, wow, I like that feeling of the unknown because on the other side of it, a lot of it's what's possible for you. You don't know what's possible for you if you stay on the other side of the
right.
discomfort.
So true.
And it's almost like a surprise. Yeah, like, oh, I wonder what's on the other side of this
Right.
discomfort.
And then you're cheating
Yeah.
yourself out because it's so easy to take a step back instead of a step forward when something feels yucky or just, again, uncomfortable. I don't even like to use the word yucky. It's just, less
Mhm.
this past weekend, I didn't want to go snowboarding with my boyfriend. I've been there, done that. The last time I snowboarded was 5 years ago in Utah. The conditions were gross. It's very warm. So, everything's thawing. It's slushy. And I didn't want to go. I'm like, can we just go hiking? He's like, we always go hiking. We haven't done this yet. And we had a great winter here in northern Michigan for snow. And we're literally going in the spring, which seems silly. But I had that pit in my stomach the whole way there. I'm like, I don't want to go because I had a bad experience the last time. I hurt my tailbone really bad. But I'm like, but then I said to go, time out, Karie, you teach this stuff. Like, bam. I'm like, okay, I think about how good you're going to feel on the ride home. You're going to feel accomplished. You're going to have a new memory to share. You're going to feel good about yourself. Yes, I can still snowboard and I'm good at it. And I'm not great, but I can get down the mountain without killing myself. Like that's a win. Nobody died. I could get off the lift without biffing it,
Yes.
like. So I had to do the same thing. This was just a couple days ago, Terry. Isn't it funny that you still pause like, this feels icky? So sometimes you have to just like look at the end
Yeah,
result and what picture that looks like in your head to get through it.
I highly recommend that. And I mean, I think that's a great tool because when you're in the moment of it, like when you're just, you're just completely like, I don't like this feeling, or I don't want to do this. It's hard to think about, oh, well, how am I going to feel after? But that is a great tool. I believe in
It's
that
taken
100%.
life coaches to teach me it. Many of them.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
I know. Visualize
Yep.
how you're going to feel,
Yep.
good or bad.
Yep. You're going to be so excited, like a
It's
marathon. Picture yourself going through the finish line, how good that's going to feel. You got your number on your chest. Everyone's there to greet you. That's what we have to do sometimes to get through the sticky part, that just feels icky in the moment.
Yes, I like it. I like when you call it sticky because it is. It's sticky. It's sticky. You kind of
Right.
hesitate um, and and really, things that we're uncomfortable with or fearful of. It's usually not as bad
Right.
as we think. Almost 100% of the time.
Right. Right. I saw a post the other day that was like this huge stack of paper. It said, all the things I worried about that just turned out just fine. Like, these are all the things.
Yes. In fact, we should probably create that list
Right.
because it's very true. I mean, we don't think
Right.
about those. Like,
Yeah,
oh, all those things that I thought were going to be horrible actually turned out
you're
not
right.
so
We should have
bad.
our own
And
journal, just a
recently,
journal. And
yes,
you'll
we
realize
should.
it's like this thick
Yeah.
and it's this giant book of, oh yeah, when I go to worry again as a natural default, let me remind myself of all the times everything worked out just fine.
Okay, I think we're on to something, Karie. We are on to something. Everyone
Yes.
listening, okay,
This journal to
let's
be
start your journal
created
today.
and branded and all the things. I'm with you.
Yes. And there's another experience just recently I want to share that I just also, because you said you just went through something too. And I thought, well, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
guess I did too. Uh, and here we are like seasoned
Right.
coaches, and we know what to say to anybody for any circumstances. But when it comes to yourself, sometimes you kind of lose sight when you're
Yes.
in the middle of it. So anybody listening, you're not alone. You're not alone. But I had to visit my parents that are aging, and my mother was declining, and I was in the mode of trying to take care of them and make good decisions and all that. So I just put all my emotions aside just to get everything done, and I did. And then I came home, which I live out of state, and all of a sudden I had the craziest emotions, and it stopped me in
Hmm.
my tracks where I was like, I couldn't move. It's like I was paralyzed. And of course, you'd think as a coach, you go, okay, it's either this or this or this or this. Nothing, nothing helped. So what I've learned, I've gotten on the other side of it, took a couple days, is that I just had to be with it and do a lot of self-care, self-love, and know 100% I will get on the other side of this. And I did. I did. And I learned something from this whole experience. And sometimes it might take a day or two, and it's okay. I think that's a really important message. It doesn't always have to be a quick
I
fix.
know, because when you do feel that way, you want to get over it so fast. So you're looking for something that's going to numb it or distract me and all the tools that, today's society is shoving in your face. But sometimes we just need to sit with it. Just be. Just let it, just feel it.
Mhm.
Even if it's yucky, you just got to feel it and let it happen and wash over you. And acknowledge that this is the stage you guys are in right
Yeah.
now, you and your mom. And it's not easy. It's not, life doesn't always have all the yummy, rainbows and sunshine moments. There's some cloudy days in there,
No.
but telling ourselves is just temporary. This is just how I'm feeling in the moment. This is a season. This is a chapter, and just letting it happen. I think that's beautiful and very, very true. All of us
Yes.
have gone through that. Very
Yes.
relatable. So
Mhm.
speaking of your mom and your life and all the fun things, and I really want to touch base on your keynote because you really talk about some vulnerable things. One in particular, there's a story of yours that I think everyone listening to this can relate to, is when I think the term is self-reject or already give ourselves that elimination. Nope, I'm not good enough. I'm not even going to try. Or there's a promotion at work, or could be in the dating world. I'd love to go out with this person, but I'm not even, they're not going to be interested in me. We self reject all the time. And it's so
Yes.
painful. And, and you see it in other people, but when you start to realize you're doing it, how many opportunities have we shut the door mentally before someone else even shuts that door? Share when that's happened to you, because I think it's a powerful story.
I think the story you're talking about was when I was working in the ophthalmology field. Yes, okay. Ophthalmology is the eye doctor, and the doctor I worked for, I was in my 20s. I think I was 20s. And I'd worked for him for quite a long time. And I learned everything in ophthalmology, from surgery, eye exams, you name it, managing the whole clinic. I had done everything. I knew how to diagnose, I knew how to treat, because I was really interested in all of that. And I became very good friends with all the pharmaceutical reps that came in. And I knew the products and I knew every aspect of ophthalmology. And at one point, I had an issue with the doctor where he wanted to fire someone, and it was not justified. I was managing the clinic, and she was a single mother of two children under the age of 10, and she was very dedicated. She was sick for a couple of days, hadn't been sick in a whole year, and he wanted her fired. And my ethics inside of me, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't even ask someone else to do it. It just was so wrong for me. And I said no. And I said, if you want to fire yourself. And I knew his personality, and he really liked me, but I knew that was kind of crossing the line. And I knew I'd probably be on the list of being fired by the end of the day. So I ran into my office during my lunch break and I called pharmaceutical reps to see if there was any openings, because I always secretly wanted to be a pharmaceutical rep. And I said, well, I'm just going to try. Of course, I didn't think I had the educational background or other things that some reps had. I said, well, I have the experience. I'm going to go for it. And I know some reps. There was a job opening, a couple of them. I applied, and then someone called me in for an interview. I was so excited. I'm like, I got the interview. So I go in the interview, and we were talking for a couple hours, and it was going great. I answered all the questions. I felt like I knew what they wanted. And, he was going through my resume, and he said, well, okay, I see that you went to college, but I don't see now, what degree did you get? I was paralyzed with fear and stumbled, and I I didn't finish my college degree. And he said, Terry, you've come so highly recommended. I'm going to go up the line and see if there's anything possible that I could possibly get you this job that would okay this. And then it'd been about 3 days. I hadn't heard from him. And then the day before Christmas, he calls and he says, Terry, what are you doing on January 5th? I don't know. I don't have any plans. How would you like to go to our national sales meeting in Hawaii? Hawaii in January? What are you talking about? Yes. He says, you've got the job. We're going to take a risk on you. We've never, ever hired anyone without a college degree. So I believed in myself first. And that's what it took for me to risk going. I mean, it was very vulnerable to go on an interview, and I verbalized the confidence I had in myself. And then I did something that no one had ever done in the entire company. And I worked for them for 4 years and loved the job until I got remarried and I
Yes.
moved to Park City.
I love that
So
story. I
there's
love
my
that
story.
story. It's so inspiring because there's so many times where we're like, nope, I don't qualify, and we write ourselves off. And that's so sad because there's that opportunity. You don't know. Again, starts with the belief in ourselves, and that will always, spill over into someone else, picking up that energy as well. And they saw something, and I love that.
Yes,
I love
yes.
that. That's such a big deal.
And yes, and I think the bottom line to this is like you have nothing to lose but try. You have a lot to lose if you never
Right.
try. And I think it's okay. So many people are afraid of disappointment or being told no, or you're not good enough, or whatever it is. But most people who are successful, they have many, 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 many
Mm-hmm.
no's until they get to that one yes that takes them where they
Right.
want to go. So if you look at it as, okay, well, I'm going to keep putting myself out there for what I really want, and be okay with the no, and you
Yeah.
might just get a
Yeah.
yes.
Plus that regret feeling is the worst. No one wants to, oh, I wish I would have done
Mhm.
that, or I should have done that. All that yucky, self-doubt shows up. Just go for it. What's the worst thing that can happen? No. Okay, next door, just keep knocking on a new door. I love that story. I love that story.
Yes,
So you talk
yes.
about in your keynote how to activate your inner superhero. And I don't think everybody realizes they have one. Let's start there. Like, superhero. Yeah,
There
I'm
you
sure they're
go.
probably thinking of the latest Marvel movie they watched, or, like there seems to be a new superhero every day. Like when we were little, it was like Wonder Woman and Superman, and that's about it. Now there's all these others that are
Yes.
popping up in the movies. So, visually, you think of which superhero you want to be, which cape you want to wear that day or whatever. How does that even work? Like, and when would I need one? Like when do I need a superhero? Maybe I had an inner superhero just with my silly snowboarding experience that I had to pull from. Like, come on, Karie, you've
Yes,
done this before. You know what
exactly.
you're doing.
It's almost as if you have this alter person, this other, not, I was going to say ego. It's not
Alien.
that. It's just this
Yeah,
other person that believes in something greater than what you believe. Like a superhero has superpowers, and it's almost something beyond anything you can possibly imagine that says you can do almost anything. I've got you. Let's put this cape on and let's fly. It's almost something you can't even imagine happening. That's how amazing a superhero is that lives inside of you. It's everything you could possibly think or imagine that you could do in your life or be in your life. And tell me now if you're listening, you're like, wow, that's a lot. Well, the superhero believes in that. And when you don't believe it in yourself and you say, I just need a little extra something here, there is a superhero inside of everyone. You just
right.
need to
Just
find
tap
it.
into that energy. It's kind of like
Yes.
to go into almost like a childlike state. When your childhood did you need someone to come save you and they weren't there? Like could be a caregiver, could have been a teacher, could have been anything. When I needed to dig
Mm,
deep and pull myself up or out of the situation, as sad as that sounds, it's reality. And there's something inside of you, even as an adult, when someone says no one's coming to save you, you've got to figure this
mm,
out. That's when you
yes.
find this grit and grace deep down inside of you that you didn't even know was there because you didn't need it before. And you just pull it out and you're like, what just happened? I did that. You look behind you and like, I overcame that. It's just huge, huge feeling of empowerment that happens after that. You've had a situation where I think it was a con artist boyfriend that, I mean, and I've been there too. I'll say we've been taken.
Happens. It happens. Yes.
But
Yes. Yes. They
yes,
are out there. Yeah.
unfortunately. Take us through
Mhm.
that a little bit. And I know that's in your book, Truth, Courage, Love, too. Just putting a plug out there as well, where Terry shares a lot of her background and vulnerability. It's a great read. But take us through that. How does that happen? What happened exactly? Like that's a tagline all by itself.
It is. It is. Well, of course, I had low self-esteem because of my dysfunctional family upbringing, and I always wore my heart out on my
Mm-hmm.
sleeve. And I had to learn the hard knocks of life that I I can still have that heart out on my sleeve, but I also needed to be aware of things that can happen and people that have bad intentions. I was young. I was in my early 20s, and I didn't have that person to tell me, hey, look out for this person or that person. And I just didn't see it coming. And this person, I worked at a doctor's office, and this person came in as a patient. And soon after, he came in often, he started, sending me flowers and gifts. And he was handsome, he was personable, and he was actually an engineer. He was a chemical engineer. So he had
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff that I thought, oh, this guy's good. Started dating him, and I just didn't see it coming, where all of a sudden he had me dependent upon him more and more and more. And he saw where things that I needed, he would fix those things. So I thought, oh, he's taking care of me, and things that I didn't get when I was growing up. All of a sudden he was the savior for that and this. So I was kind of blinded by some of it. And by the time I saw it, I was completely in deep financially, in every way. Long story short, he took me for everything I had. He left me with bad credit, no home. And I ended up sleeping on my girlfriend's sofa until I could figure out what to do. But I always had a job. I always maintained a job. And for some point, I think for a little while, I had to borrow someone's car to get to work. It was bad. But what I learned in that situation is I didn't have anything material. And I did not want to borrow money from my parents. And I had too much pride. I wanted to fix my own problem. I saved enough money sleeping on the couch sofa, and I rented a room out of an apartment or a house, and it was an empty room. It had not even a bed. And I remember sitting in there just happy to have a room, but I didn't have any furniture. And I broke down because I couldn't understand how this happened to someone who's a good person. Like, how did this happen to me? How did I let this happen to me? And I cried and I cried. I cried so hard that my ribs were hurting, like those deep sobs that you just don't know if you can catch your breath, for hours, until I didn't have anything left in me. And as soon as I got all the tears out, all of a sudden I realized that even though this man could take everything material, even emotionally, he could never take away my soul. Nobody could. And in that moment, I knew I would never let anyone or anything ever take away who I am inside again. Most transformative moment in my entire life. I could lose everything today and know I still have this. And that is worth so much. And I know if you're listening, that seems so drastic, but in the end, it's really true. Even looking at my aging parents, in the end, all the material stuff's gone. And that love that we have when we look at each other, that's what's left. Or your love for yourself, or your strength that you have inside. So the worst thing that ever happened to me, that's one of them, was one of the best gifts that ever happened to me.
That is deep, girl. Sometimes that's what it takes, is that stripping away to really truly find what the most important thing is. And that self-concept of knowing you can't take this. I still know who I am at the end of the day. I know I'm important, I'm precious, and I matter. Just no one can take that. And I always really, I think I even did a podcast episode on how important it is to have that self-concept, because then no one can take it. Sure, you could steal from me, you could break into my car and take things, which has happened. You can feel that victim mindset, feel like a victim in the moment.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, they can't take what matters most. And that's such a comforting thought.
No.
As long as you're aware of it first, and most of us don't know or even think like that until everything's gone. Amazing.
Right.
It's super powerful.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then fast forward in 2008, we almost lost everything. I'm remarried, living in Park City. We had invested in a lot of property, and we almost went bankrupt. And my husband was mortified. I mean, he was white. He was just mortified that he would just totally let me down. It would affect our marriage. I don't know what he was thinking. And I just looked at him and said, "Oh, we'll be fine. Oh, we could live in an apartment. We have our health. We have each
Right.
other. We're good." And he just, "What? I can't believe you're saying this." And that came from that
Hmm.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a gift that was, even in that moment, and then, so the gift keeps on giving throughout my
Yeah.
whole life.
It's a reassurance. I'm sure you reassured him too, because as a man, they got to be the provider. That's so important. It's a part of their identity.
Mhm.
And to feel that
Yes.
you're cool, you're good, it's gonna be fine. I'm finding more
Mhm.
alignment as we talk, because I worked in optics for 7 years, and of course we had rental properties in 2008. I think everyone was touched in some way in 2008, where we walked away from 4 properties and
Mhm.
10 acres of land, and just everything's crumbling around you if you were in the real estate world at all, like we were flipping houses and had
Yes.
rentals and so on. It's a tough time, but when you've seen the bottom of the pit and you might have like a snapshot that it might be like that again, you're like, "Oh, I've already been there. I already know what it looks like. I survived it. I'm good."
Yeah.
The key is to not take
Yes.
up residence at the bottom of the pit. Like, don't start decorating it, putting up pictures. Just stay there temporarily, learn what you need to, and then get out, climb out as fast as possible. But it is, there's a sense
I
of
love
like,
that.
"Oh, that's not it. I've seen darker days. I've got this. I'm going to be okay."
Yes.
Yeah, it
It can
does.
give you strength. It can give you strength to overcome it also, to like, "Oh, I don't want that to happen." But, you can be with it. You're not, panicked and, like, I can do that. I've handled something like that before. And that's another thing that, I talk a lot
Hmm.
about courage. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not courageous. I haven't done great things, amazing things." Well, just think back in your life and some of the things that you've endured, that you've overcome. And you're like, "Oh, that's not just for the, it took some courage and strength." And the more that you realize it and see it, the more courageous and strong you become into the future and
Right.
into this moment.
Sometimes we just need that.
Yeah.
It goes back to that journal we said we need to write, create. Sometimes you just need to see your own winning playbook of all the times you won and just reread it and go, "But I got through
Yes.
that and I was better because of it." Because life is there's this one thing that's constant and guaranteed is change. It's always going to have a new change. There's always going to be something new.
Yes.
And, that and
Yes.
taxes is guaranteed. No, I'm kidding. Yeah,
Aging,
a
maybe.
lot of
I don't know.
things.
No. I don't-
But overall, it's just getting comfortable with it, learning to ride the wave instead of letting the wave take you over. Just learn to surf as best as possible is how I always use analogies and pictures in my mind, is just learn to surf, because it's going to happen. There's going to be another wave behind that one too,
Yeah.
and just learning to overcome it. I love all of this. It's been such a great, deep conversation. I love that you take this type of stories to the stage, because I personally feel like I can adapt and relate to a speaker on stage when they share from the heart, not just tell me what to do, but share their experiences and things that they've gone through. Life
Mm,
shapes us. We don't get to choose our childhood. We don't get to choose our parents. So much has happened by the age of 7 that has molded who we become as adults. And if you don't stop and literally look backward of where can I heal myself and love that little girl, little boy, and love them through those parts, you'll take those wounds to your next relationship, into your career, into your parenting, and so on. And it's so powerful. I cannot stress enough how much personal development will change your life. And I know life coaching
yes.
sounds fluffy, and being an author sounds fluffy, and like, oh, just sparkly sometimes. It's the truth. It really is probably the most important work I've ever done. I have to say, and the best investment I've ever made is on myself. I know it sounds selfish almost, but
Yes.
everyone else benefits. Everyone that's around you
They do.
gets to also have a better version of
Mhm.
you that's in their life.
Mhm.
I mean, I know there's between your 2 books, talk about them real quick with me. There's the 100 Hearts, if I remember correctly, and I have them. I should have grabbed them. Sorry, they're in the bookshelf over there. um, but one is 100 Hearts. There's 100 stories, right, of other women, which is so powerful when you came together and created that.
Yes.
But then the second book is just raw Terry, pretty much night and day.
Mhm. Yes. Very rough.
Yes.
Yes. I was very scared to publish that. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Right. It's easier to hide
Yes.
behind other people's
Well, when
stories, I'm sure. Right?
oh yes, oh yes, yes. Well, the journey of both the books were first it was 100 Hearts because I'd been coaching for a long time, mostly women because men were a little more
Mm-hmm.
cautious of coaching. And what I found is that they were extremely strong, courageous, multi-talented, but never saw it in themselves. And I was just having coffee with a friend and telling her about that. And she said, Terry, that's fascinating. We need to find out more about this. Why don't you create a survey and gather it from 100 women? And I bet you could find out more. What? 100 women? That's crazy. She goes, no, I'll help you do it. So she helped me create the survey, and I gathered 100 surveys from 100 women. It was pretty amazing from
Yeah.
all walks of life. And it was a compilation of the answers to their stories that are the stories in my book. And what I found is that these women also realized that they were more courageous than they thought they were by just filling out
Mhm.
the survey. And when I published the book and I'd go out speaking, women would tell me for the first time, I don't feel alone. It was so empowering because a lot of people just keep these stories inside of them. And that's when I realized that, your story doesn't have to define you, but it can find you,
Yes.
in your life. And it was so powerful. And that led to doing my TEDx talk, Permission to be Courageous, where I thought I was up on stage telling stories I had never told
Mhm.
anyone. Any I had a coach who was pulling these stories out because you've got to share these stories. Like, okay. I guess if the women in my book did it, I guess I can do it. And when I did the TEDx talk, is the most freeing, liberating moment of my life to tell these stories because I was proud of all my stories, even the
Mhm.
horrible stories, because they made me who I was in that moment, a strong woman and proud of her life. And I was there to share and help other people. So that was the first book was very life changing because it led me to my TED talk and speaking. I got the bug. I got the bug when I was up on stage, how much I loved speaking. And I also thought it was a great way to change people's lives from, many, many lives by getting up. Books are one way, speaking is another way. And from my stories, I know that people can relate with my vulnerability and my realness, and they can see the answers by me just giving them just a few little tips from my life story. They can find those answers within themselves. So that's what I found. And then move forward to, I thought, okay, one book's good. I felt like there were many more stories left out from my first book and from my
Mhm.
TEDx talk. And I decided it was the most, I think, liberating thing I could possibly do to help others is to tell my full story. Because at the end of my life, or the story of my book, where I was at the point when I wrote the book, was probably the best place I've ever been in my
Mhm.
entire life. And I'm so proud of my life and what I've accomplished. If you would have thought that in the beginning of my life, you're like, how could you possibly get from here to here at the end
Right.
of your story? And that's what I wanted everyone to know. I could go through all of that, but I learned lessons. I grew from every experience, the worst ones. And that allowed me to keep moving forward and growing. If you can't get over something that's happened in your life and try to learn something from it or grow from it,
Yes.
it keeps you stuck. Or
Yes.
forgiveness, which is a big part of my book, Truth, Courage, and Love, which is it's a very, very powerful part of my story because that sets you
Mhm.
free. And it's not agreeing with what someone did, but it's letting you disassociate with the negative energy, and it's freeing yourself. And it's kind of a
Mhm.
self-love thing too. So that's a big part of the next story. And by sharing my stories, I want people to know that you can change the meaning of your story. Your story is your story, but you can change. And I did change the meaning of my story to I didn't have a mom to grow up with, to I have the most incredible, loving mother on the planet. I love her. She loves me. She knows me. I know her. So I changed the meaning of my story that changed my life and hers. So that's
I
what's
love
possible.
that. It's so true. I just released a newsletter on LinkedIn reminding people that if life gives you a do-over, take it. And that's exactly what you did. It didn't, we have this story in our head, it has to look a certain way. Like I'm, you'd have to, follow more about Terry, read the book and so on. She had an alcoholic mom, so her and her sister needed to escape a very unhealthy situation and go live with her father. So growing up, not to share your story too much or tell it for you, the absence of a mom as for a little girl leaves a hole, it leaves a void. And to know that
Mhm.
even though you didn't have it in those stages of your life, you got to have it later, and
Yes.
it's still
Yeah.
evolving. Your story is still not done, with mom and you. So it's such a beautiful thing to look at it that way, because we do get so focused on, but this is the black and white version it's supposed to be, or what Hollywood
Mhm.
makes you think it's supposed to look like, or whatever other, fictitious story we have in our head. You get to create your own. And the forgiveness piece is huge, because it can be the biggest roadblock in your life, in your career, anywhere, in your relationships. You could be still disgruntled about a past boss and go, I'm just never going to work in that department. I hate that person. I can't believe what you just limited yourself from maybe a possible promotion or a whole nother career path you could unlock if you would just
Mhm.
pause and forgive them for who they are and what they were dealing with in their moment. Maybe they were just doing the best they could with what they've got in that stage of life. Love that. That's such a great
Yes,
reminder. I need to do my own
it is.
inventory, and who do I need to forgive? Where am I stuck? Because sometimes we forget, don't
We
even
all do.
realize
We all
we're
do, and it's
harboring
it's
still
a
stuff.
very
Yeah,
powerful thing.
not letting go. That's powerful, Terry. Very powerful. Well, on that note, because it's such a good high note,
Mhm.
all of this has been so good. um, I didn't expect anything less, to be honest. Not with Terry. So how can, I want to just put it out there. Terry is available for keynote speaking. That is number one, her focus right now. I don't think she's looking to write more books, so don't bug her about that. Like so many people.
Never know.
I know,
I
right?
don't think
Stop
so.
marketing to me. But for your keynote event, for your professional corporate event, for anyone that's looking to really truly dig deep and be their own superhero, really get and unlock all of that stuff that's, just been keeping you stuck. How can you be better in your personal relationships, in your leadership, in your team? That's really where Terry's sweet spot is. I just want to invite you to look in the show notes. Of course, we're going to have links on how to get and connect with her, and how to contact her, and even see if she's available, because she's been traveling a lot these days. Her and her husband have been everywhere. You guys did in Asia, whole, like, I think it was like a month or 6 weeks. I can't even remember. Last fall, you guys were in Asia. What's the next trip? It's coming up, right? It's right around the corner. Is it New Zealand?
Except
Yes.
New Zealand, yes. It's a bucket list. We have our little bucket list, and we do feel very fortunate that we can experience this and these travel experiences. And we always learn about life, absolutely. And it's a great learning experience, meeting people from different cultures and different way of life. So it's our bucket list, trying to get those,
Yeah.
marked off. So it's
Yeah, so you got
exciting.
to follow her
Yes.
on Instagram and other places where she's sharing her next adventures. It's true. I think, and I'll pause on this before we wrap up the call. Asia taught you some stuff, didn't it? Like the culture that you
It
can
did.
get from, literally, I think the world is your classroom, so to speak, and it's teaching you new stuff with each new location. What did Asia leave
Yes.
you with? It was a lasting impression. I remember you sharing.
Oh, so much, so much. We really have been changed. My husband and I have both changed forever because we went to a lot of different places in Asia. We started with Japan, Vietnam, Cambodia,
Yeah.
Thailand, and in every they were very different cultures, but in each one they respected each other. It didn't matter what class they were in, what walk of life they were in. They respected each other because it's like a human respect of and a spiritual respect that I just hadn't seen in my entire life, where it was so consistent. They really respected you, and they showed it in a lot of different ways, whether they put their hands together over their heart and bowed, or just cleaning up their environment. They never left trash anywhere. There's a personal respect for others. It was
Mm.
amazing, just amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
That needs to
I
be
mean,
just spread everywhere worldwide. That tradition. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, you just don't know anyone else's story. That's the funniest part about, a lot of people, I think in America, we kind of shy away from getting to know people
Mhm.
or looking people in the eye because you don't know, could it
Right.
be good or bad? And we don't know
Right.
anyone's story really. We don't when we're walking down the street. But just knowing we don't know their story, but we can respect them for wherever they're at. And I don't know, that's what I
Mm.
brought home. It's a really
It's true.
calming
We are so
experience.
guarded. The bigger the city, the more guarded you
Mhm.
become. It's just kind of interesting. Moving back home from Vegas to
Yeah.
moving back to a small town, I was like, why is everybody so talkative and so friendly? Like, I'm so used to having that wall up, just guarding yourself and your purse to eye
Yes.
contact and how you doing? And the small talk at the cash register. I was like, this is so different. It took my daughter and myself quite a bit to just
Yes.
kind of get used to the more friendly. It's just different. But yeah, everyone deserves respect. It doesn't matter what their title is. It doesn't matter how they were raised, how much money they have. We're all worthy of that. I love that. That's a good ending note.
Mhm.
Any
Yeah.
final thoughts you want to give our
Yes.
audience before we sign off, Terry?
Oh, I just want everyone to know that regardless of any experience you've had in your life that you feel like has maybe tarnished your excitement, your confidence, your resilience, I want you to know that you have something inside of you that can get over that and you can learn, grow, and become the person and be the person, create the career, the life that you want. I am living proof of that. And if you feel like you can't do it on your own, there are many, many people out there that will help you get there as well. But the first thing is you really have to believe that it's possible. Just believe that it's possible. And if not, reach out. I'd love to help you believe because that's the
That is
first
so
step.
true. That is the first step. Sometimes it's the scariest step, but
Hmm.
boy, everything else seems to make more sense once you take that one little baby step.
Yes.
Good stuff,
Baby
Terry.
step, but it's a
Well,
big
I
one.
again remind everyone to look in the show notes to connect with her, find her website, find her social media platforms, and so on. And reach out if you're looking for a dynamic keynote speaker for your next event. She is available. So, big hugs, big love. Thank you again, Terry, for this wonderful episode and the great quality you've provided us today. I can't say enough great things about Terry, but we don't want to add another 10 more minutes to the call to the episode. So
Uh,
you're
Thank
welcome.
you, Karie. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you. And I love talking with you. We
Yes,
could go on for
for
hours.
sure.
So I appreciate it. I
Love it.
really
Love it.
enjoyed it.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Hi there, friend. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor and double check that you're subscribed or following. And if you've got a quick 30 seconds, it would mean the world to me if you could leave me a 5-star review and share what you specifically liked about this episode.